got it! Oh, baby!
It's a goal. The Stanley Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks.
You can put it on the board! Yes!
Hi everyone and welcome to our final sports zone of the semester. I'm Lindsay Harrison and I'm joined by Vicki Cronin, Mike O'Brien, and Zach Madison. History was made when the ISU soccer team made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament for the first time ever. Zach Madison was there to tell us more.
Thanks, Lindsay. After ISU blew through conference play and defeated Louisville in the first round of the NCAA tournament, it seemed like the Redbirds would be poised for something special up in Ann Arbor for their second round matchup. In the round of 32, ISU took on number 11 Michigan, who would be their toughest test of the season. After a questionable no-call, Michigan got on the board early, scoring off of a header in just the third minute of play. Hannah Leinert, Anna Stinson, and Rachel Tejada all had good opportunities for the Birds, but they just couldn't convert on their shots. ISU's defense and goaltending were strong after that first goal and managed to keep the score of the game at 1-0 going into the half. Unfortunately for ISU, they lost some of their offensive firepower in the second half after Rachel Tejada came out of the game just 5 minutes into the second half. Michigan scored in that time period and then scored again off of a header just 13 minutes later. Throughout the rest of the match, ISU just couldn't find the opportunities offensively that they were in the first half and were being outplayed physically on the defensive end. The Redbirds' 3-0 loss in Ann Arbor ends their historic season. And for seniors Anna Stinson, Allie Newsom, and Kyla Cross, this loss marks the end of their collegiate playing careers.
I think it was just an awesome opportunity to be able to finish on this note, and even though it's very bittersweet right now, it's looking back on it, it's going to be one of the most incredible memories that I've ever had in my life, and I would rather have it with no one else but our team right now, so I really appreciate everything they've done, and it's a great way to go out.
ISU finishes the season 14-7-1, and as for the three seniors, they combined for 65 of 66 possible starts, and their 49 victories are the most for a senior class under head coach Drew Roth. Guys, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Zach. ISU soccer junior Rachel Tejada is one of 36 finalists chosen nationally for the Soccer News Net College Boot Award. This award recognizes the Women's College Soccer Player of the Year. Tejada was awarded her third straight MVC Player of the Year honor this season after leading the conference with 42 points. Fans can vote for Tejada online through December 18th, and fan voting will count for 40% of the total toward the award. The remaining 60% of the vote will be cast by the Soccer News Net editorial staff.
Wartburg College came to Illinois Wesleyan for the first round of the Division III playoffs on the 23rd of November. And it didn't fare too well for the Titans, who fell on a final score of 41-7, ending their season at a total record of 9-2. It's the best record since 2011 and the 7th consecutive winning season for Wesleyan. The game was 21-0 at half, marking the first time this season that the Titans could not score in the first 30 minutes of a game. They finally got one from an 18-yard strike to Tate Musselman, but it was too little too late. Wartburg went on to lose to Bethel again in the second round.
In the first round of the Missouri Valley Conference Volleyball Tournament, ISU faced off against the Missouri State Bears. In the thrilling four-game set, Ashley Rush led the way for ISU with 17 kills in the win, which moved them on to the second round to face off against host Wichita State. In the second round, ISU pushed Wichita to the brink of elimination, but couldn't pull off the 5-set upset of the Shockers as the Redbirds fall to Wichita State, ending their season. Ashley Rush recorded her second double-double of the tournament in kills and digs. Illinois State finishes their season 19-13. The women's basketball team was in the Bahamas for the Junkanoo Jam over the weekend. In their first round matchup against Florida, Chloe Nelson and Alexis Foley led the way for the Birds with 26 and 21 points each. The Redbirds were able to hold off a second-half surge by Florida and pull off the close 68-64 victory. In the championship match, ISU faced off against number 13 Penn State, and despite earning her second career high of the weekend, Foley's 24 points off of 6 threes weren't enough for the Birds, who dropped the championship match to the Lady Lions 72-60. ISU finished their weekend 1-1 and will play Northern Illinois at Doug Collins Court on Thursday night. From the Bahamas to San Francisco, the men's team faced off against Vermont in the first round of the Golden Gate Challenge. ISU led by as many as 18 points in the first half, but they weren't able to hold off Vermont in the second half as they lost 87-76. In the second game of the challenge, ISU faced off against Division II Sonoma State, where this time ISU led nearly the entire game and never relinquished that lead in the 75-58 victory. During the final day of play, ISU faced off against host San Francisco, and for the first time since 2008, 6 Redbird players scored in double figures as ISU raced past San Francisco to a 90-76 victory. The Birds finished their trip 2-1 and will return to Doug Collins Court on Wednesday to host Chicago State.
Bloomington Normal High School's boys and girls basketball teams have been facing off for the last week for the 35th annual Intercity Tournament. The girls' tournament concluded last Tuesday with a new champion for the first time in 4 years. Central Catholic was the 4-time defending champion coming into this tournament, but that all ended with a U-High victory over the Saints, 53-44. The Pioneers' win ended the Saints' 24-game tournament winning streak. The boys' tournament will conclude tonight with the defending champions U-High facing off against Central Catholic tonight. U-High clinched a spot for the championship game on Friday, beating Normal West 61-49. Central Catholic beat Bloomington High School 79-63 on Saturday to save their spot. Tip-off is at 6 p.m. at the Shirk Center.
The Bloomington Thunder came back from a 3-goal deficit to cut the margin to 1 goal, but that wasn't good enough. The Thunder fell to the Peoria Rivermen 4-3 on Friday night in Peoria. Then on Saturday night, the two teams had a rematch in Bloomington. The Thunder still couldn't beat their rival and lost 5-1. The Thunder's next home game is on December 13th, and they will have a 3-game homestand that weekend.
Coming up after the break, we take you through highlights of the NFL's 13th week.
We'll also talk with one player who just landed in from the Bahamas after a great tournament finish for ISU basketball. All that and more when we return.
Welcome back and welcome to the Highlight Zone. The NFC North is getting worse and the injuries are still piling up. The NFC West is heating up with San Francisco and St. Louis going head-to-head this past weekend, and the Broncos and Patriots are leading in the AFC. Mike, take it away.
All right, well, we start in Kansas City. Chiefs trying to avenge their loss to Denver just 2 weeks ago. Start of the second quarter, Niall Davis on the return, and he takes this one out from deep in the end zone, finds a hole at the 20, runs into a blocker, but bounces right off and off to the races to put KC up 14-7. Later in the third, Peyton Manning's favorite target in this one was Eric Decker. He finds him here for 37 yards out, and the score to tie it up at 21 apiece. Still tied in the third quarter, Manning over the middle, right to Decker on the slant route in single coverage for the easy strike, and then later in the fourth, I just guessed 3 wasn't enough. Fade route to Decker for his 4th touchdown of the day. By far the best day Decker has had in his career. Last chance for Kansas City on the 14. Smith bids on the pump fake, but the ball is tipped on 4th down. Broncos win, improving to 10-2. Off to Minnesota, this Vikings coming off the tie to Green Bay, hosting the Bears. Second quarter sweep run to Cordarrelle Patterson, who finds a hole and evades 4 Bear defenders. Not very good tackling there. Patterson outruns Jennings into the end zone to take a 7-3 lead. That one deserves a high five from the ref. In the third, McCown drops back and fakes right and goes to Alshon Jeffrey, who had himself a day. Perfect placement on the throw, and Jeffrey takes this one to the house for the 80-yard completion to retake the Chicago lead. Now later in the game, McCown in the third, once again going to what seems to be his favorite target, Alshon Jeffrey. And take a look at this catch. Well, I didn't know Megatron was on the Bears. I thought he was on Detroit. Catch of the week there by Jeffrey for another touchdown, but Minnesota would come back. Right here, Matt Castle to Greg Jennings for the score, and then they would later tie it up on a field goal. And then after 2 missed field goals in overtime, Blair Walsh, well, he gets another shot with 1 minute left, sinks it. Bears go down to Minnesota. Playoff hopes for them in Green Bay are all relying on Detroit.
Now let's head to Tennessee where the Colts face the Titans. We'll pick it up in the third where the Titans are going for it on a 4th and goal. Ryan Fitzpatrick rolls out and looks like he's going to run it, but makes a jump pass to Chris Johnson, and he catches it for the touchdown to give the Titans the lead 14-12. Then in the fourth, the Colts kicker Adam Vinatieri attempts his 5th field goal of the game, and the kick is good from 49 yards out. Then with under 2 minutes to play, the Colts finally put a nice drive together, and Donald Brown goes up the middle for a 4-yard touchdown to make the lead 22-14 and take the win. Then the St. Louis Rams traveled to San Francisco, and before the game, things are already getting chippy. In the second quarter, the 49ers are up 6-0 when Frank Gore runs the ball in from 4 yards out to put them up 13-0. Then in the third quarter, Michael Crabtree, playing his first game of the season, gets a pass from Colin Kaepernick and runs it 61 yards for the touchdown to put San Fran up 16-16. Then in the fourth, the Rams try to come back by doing a fake punt, but it fails and the Rams get wrapped up. The 49ers get the ball back on their own 18-yard line, and Kaepernick finds Vernon Davis, who hurdles into the end zone to grab the win, 23-6.
Impressive finish there, and very entertaining week in the NFL through all the games on Thanksgiving and this weekend. And we'll go into more in-depth coverage for the NFC North playoff hunt later in the show. But guys, where do you think who's a favorite for the AFC on the other side of the half?
You know, Denver's definitely the favorite going into the playoffs. I think they've got a lot of momentum at the moment, but there's the fact that Peyton Manning's a different player when it comes to cold weather. So it's definitely, once we get to the playoffs, it's up in the air. We'll have to see.
A couple of weeks ago, I probably would have said Andrew Luck and the Colts might have been the team to beat in the AFC, but you know they've kind of been stumbling as of late. Sure, they won yesterday, but there's just that offense isn't there as what it was in the beginning of the season when they still had Reggie Wayne. I'm going to say Tom Brady and the Patriots. Sure, they've been giving up a lot of points recently, but I think that their defense will kind of come around and contain some of that offensive power on the other side of the ball, and then Tom Brady will, of course, do his thing and make it back to the Super Bowl.
Tom Brady will be Tom Brady. All right, well, coming up after the break, we sit down with one basketball player fresh off of 2 career best performances.
Then we'll take a look at how the BCS standings look after Bama goes down, as well as a look into the NFL playoff picture. All that and more coming up when the Sports Zone continues.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Vicki Cronin, and this is Sports Zone Sit Down. While some of us were home this past week at Thanksgiving break, the women's basketball team went to the Bahamas to compete in the Junkanoo Jam Tournament. I'm here with sophomore guard Alexis Foley. Thanks for joining me, Alexis.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Well, so you guys played really well in the tournament, beating your first round team, the Florida Gators. You and Chloe Nelson scored career highs during that game. How did you guys be so successful down there?
I think we came into the game as the underdog, as most people know, and we just had played with no fear and played really well as a team, and our defense really stepped up, I think.
Okay, so next you moved on to the championship game of the tournament and faced Penn State. You had your second straight career high performance, netting 24 points and getting 6 3-pointers. What allowed you to play so good offensively during that game?
I think just like the first game, we came in with a no fear attitude, and we were open, and it just felt smooth coming off. And teammates, we were having good passing and good ball movement, and we stuck with them.
All right, and because of that performance, you were named to the all-tournament team. How did you feel achieving that?
I was very surprised. I mean, Chloe had a great tournament too, and I think it was just an honor for one of us to be able to make it onto the all-tournament team.
So even though you lost the second championship game, you did get a big win during the first game. How are you going to bring that momentum back to some of your next games here at ICU?
I think this tournament was a turning point for our team. We haven't played that well in the first couple of games, and we're looking to kind of take the momentum and move forward. And we played Northern Illinois coming up, and hopefully we can use that.
All right. So I saw that while you guys were down in the Bahamas, you stopped at a local school to do some charity work.
We did.
What did you guys do there?
Our coach kind of talked to the kids, and we introduced ourselves and our name, our major, and like our favorite dance move, which was kind of fun, and just opened up to the kids. And then we went on the playground and just played basketball with them and did some relay races and just kind of interacted with the kids, and it was really good, really good.
How did it feel to help those kids that are kind of from underprivileged area?
Yeah, I think it helped them just as much as it helped us. It was a very humbling experience, and it opened our eyes to something that we haven't really seen before, and it was good, especially over Thanksgiving, just to realize how grateful we are for the things we have.
All right, so ISU was the only school to go out and help the local community, so that was pretty cool.
It was.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And then stay tuned, because coming up next, we will show you possibly the best play ever in college football history.
Welcome back to the Sports Zone. It's now time to take you outside the zone where we look at some stories on a more national level. It's one of the most talked about games from the weekend and from the entire college football season for that matter. Number 1 Alabama faced rival Auburn this weekend at the Iron Bowl. When Alabama came up short for a game-winning 57-yard field goal attempt with only 1 second left on the clock, it was Auburn's Chris Davis who returned it for 109 yards and the game-winning touchdown. The astonishing win clinched Auburn's spot in the SEC championship game, and it ended two-time defending national champions Auburn's hopes for a third title.
Down goes Frazier. No, that's not right. It's down goes Bama. There we go. The BCS standings are receiving a bit of a shakeup after Alabama lost to Auburn. Florida State takes the cake at number 1 after their win over Florida. Ohio State grabs the number 2 spot after they squeak by Michigan. Auburn moves up to number 3 and Alabama down to 4 after the Iron Bowl. And finally, Missouri rounds out the top 5 after their win over Texas A&M. So, with the SEC's recent success in the national championship, do you guys think an ACC and a Big Ten school deserve a chance at the ship?
Well, I personally think they do. I mean, it's tough to see an SEC school not in the championship after having such a dominating performance. But, I mean, Ohio State, I don't see why. I mean, everybody's talking about the weakness of the Big Ten, but I don't think the ACC is that much special either. But what you have to do to get to that spot is just do your part, control your own destiny, and that's exactly what they did. They've been undefeated for 2 years. And Jameis Winston, he's looking like an easy Heisman runner if it wasn't for that police scandal. So I think it'll be a good matchup. And if Alabama wanted a shot at the title, well, they should have won.
Yeah, I guess I got to kind of agree with that, actually. Just seeing Ohio State and Florida State do their part to make it to the title, or to make it, and I think they definitely deserve a shot.
Well, there were 2 divisional matchups this past week, with Detroit blowing out Green Bay and Minnesota defeating the Bears, heating up the closest division race in the NFL. Let's bring up the schedules. The Bears meet Dallas next week before seeing Cleveland and then Pittsburgh, finishing out with the Green Bay Packers. And then the Packers, well, they return home to Lambeau Field to host Atlanta next week before meeting the Cowboys, Steelers, and then the Bears, of course. And the Detroit Lions, who are currently leading, go to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles before playing Baltimore, Giants, and the Vikings. I think it's safe to say that all 3 teams are out of the wild card race, meaning that only one can make it from the division. The Lions control their own destiny. Green Bay needs to have some help. The Packers have to win out, and they hope that the Lions have to lose 2 games out of the remaining 4, and they would then take the division. Anything less than 2 losses, and the Lions would take the division. For the Bears, they need the Lions to lose twice as well, as they would have to then go beat Green Bay in the final week of the season. So how do you guys think this NFC North playoff hunt's going to end up?
You know, I gotta say, I think it's going to be Detroit. I just think that there's too many factors coming in. They have to lose too many games, and the Bears and the Packers have to win too many games to really make it probable that either the Packers or the Bears are going to make it. I see Detroit making it with their luck. It's just on their side this year.
I think the Lions are actually going to choke, but I think the Bears are going to pull it out and grab the win for the NFC North.
It pains me to say it as well, but I think the Lions might be able to pull this one off, unless, they pull their regular game antics for the season and just completely collapse. And then a lot's going to have to happen for the Bears and Packers, though. I mean, they both have some bad injuries on the field that are really taking tolls on their teams, but I think it might be the Lions.
Well, Detroit can beat any team on the field, but it's hard when they just keep blowing it themselves. But if they do lose twice and Chicago and Green Bay win out, that'll be quite a matchup in the last week, and the winner goes on at Soldier Field. So, unfortunately, we're not on air for that.
All right, well, coming up after the break, we will pick our favorite athlete and what kind of present we would get them for Christmas.
Today's show is our last in the semester, and in the spirit of the holiday season, you guys, I gotta ask, if you could give your favorite athlete a gift for the holidays, what would you give them?
I'd have to go ahead and get Derrick Rose some titanium knees because, torn meniscus ruined my Christmas.
I would have to pick Charles Tillman, and I would give him a cup from the Fountain of Youth to give him just a few more years out there on the field.
Well, he's not my favorite player, but I'll give Robbie Gould just a nice pat on the back for missing that field goal yesterday in overtime, keeping my Green Bay Packers alive. So thanks for that, Robbie.
I got to say, I'd have to give Aaron Rodgers a time machine, but not for what everybody thinks it would be. I just want him to go back and really rethink that mustache from November. Not really sure about that, so, All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, tonight's Monday Night Football game is New Orleans taking on the Seahawks. For all of us here at the Sports Zone, I'm Lindsay Harrison. Have a great afternoon and happy holidays.